creating a digital publication about all things branding, it comes as no surprise that we're very aesthetically driven. When it comes to brand visual identity, it's more than just a logo and brand colors. Photography plays a pivotal role, and images associated with your brand can make or break its perception in the eyes of the public. The photos you use can amplify quality, perception, emotional connection, and portray values of diversity and inclusion, or they can do the opposite. So it's more than just picking the nicest and cheapest stock images on Upsplash. And today we're going to learn a lot more about photography for businesses with Nicole Pas, or Nicole.Pas on socials. Nicole is a Melbourne-based brand photographer and videographer. She is also a small business mentor and the host of the Brand Collective podcast, where she shares her lessons, the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly, from her nearly 5 years of entrepreneurship. Done. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. That was an awesome introduction. Thank you both for having me.
Oh, I hope we haven't missed anything. And if we have, you can tell us all about it.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Perfect.
Oh, brilliant. Well, welcome. We're excited to have you on.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to chat all things photography and branding.
Yeah. Woo. The two things we like to hear. So, Nicole, like we mentioned earlier, we've done some stalking and we know that you've ventured down a few multiple career paths, like makeup artistry. Sorry, must be the wording today. Visual merchandise. It's the Monday. Visual merchandise and real estate. How did you become a professional photographer? And firstly, real estate. Wow. Yeah, very different.
I did not last long in that industry, let me tell you. 6 months in and out and I was done. Not for me. How did I become a photographer? That's a really good question. So I didn't, where do I start? Okay, so when I was at high school, I went to a private school. And back in the day, I had a careers counsellor, as most private schools probably did or do still. And I remember then I had said to them, I want to be a photographer. And I have a very, very distinct memory of her looking me straight bang in the eye and said, you can't be one because it won't make you a career. Wow. And so I finished year 12 and just I went to uni and did a Bachelor of Arts because what else am I going to do? Finished that. I studied archaeology because I loved it, but again, couldn't make a career of it, right? And so after I finished uni, I just worked full-time in retail for a couple of years and then decided to go do a beauty therapy diploma because that sounded like a lot of fun, which led me to becoming a makeup artist. And I was with a very iconic Australian brand. I don't know, can I say brand names on here?
Yes.
Yeah. So I ended up working for Mecca Cosmetica, which was like a dream job. Oh my God. And worked for them for nearly 9 years. Started in store as a makeup artist, worked my way up into head office and ended up being a brand manager for them for a number of years, which was really fun. Then went off to have a baby. And it was during that mat leave when I was umming and ahhing what I was going to do afterwards. Because I wasn't with Mecca, when I went on mat leave, I was working for another retailer as a inventory analysis manager, like a planner, all numbers, absolutely hated it. Was good at it, but I hated it. And my husband said to me, he's like, you don't want to go back to this job. You're on mat leave. Use the time and really figure out what you want to do. And I remember thinking about it. And I said to him, well, I want to do photography. He's like, well, why don't you do it? You've spoken about it for so many years. It's always been a passion. I've always done it as like a hobby. He's like, if you want to go back and study, like now's the time because you're not working. We've got time. You've got time with a baby to go back and study. So I did. I went back and I went back at night time and studied. So I did 2 nights a week at it's the Photography Studies College in Melbourne. So did that part-time, worked part-time and, decided to start a business, not knowing what I was doing. And that's kind of now led me to where I am now, however many years later. So yeah, that's long and short story of how I became a photographer.
I love that. I feel like we've spoken to a few people around like how, I don't want to say you fall into it, but you follow, you follow your passion, and then it's what lights you up and gives you so much joy. So like, why wouldn't you do it? And that's an amazing story.
Mm.
It is.
I know, but see, it's also, if I had listened to that teacher forever, I never would have done it, because I didn't. I actually wanted to study photography when I finished school.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, because she said to me, well, it won't make you a career. And like, we're talking private girls' school. It was very much like you become a lawyer, become a doctor, become a nurse, become a teacher. Like, it was that kind of school where you just went and did that one career that traditionally is what we were told to do. Mm-hmm. So I stupidly at the time listened to her. But, hindsight's a good thing as well, because, if I hadn't listened, I suppose I wouldn't have ended up where I am now. So it's one of those weird things that I always am a firm believer that the universe will put you on the path you meant at the time that you're meant for it. Mm-hmm. So you just got to kind of ride the waves and see where things lead you.
I absolutely love that. I feel like that's very true, right? Like, you wouldn't have been presented the opportunity unless you're ready for it. And look at you now. Mm. An absolute stellar photographer, and a podcaster. Yeah. So can you walk us a little bit through what you offer as a photographer, and maybe start with personal branding, because personal brand photography, because some people may not know what that actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a photographer, I predominantly will work with small women who own their own businesses. I don't really do corporate work at all. So I love, my little niche is working with women who have been in business anywhere from it's their first year all the way to like, their 7th to 10th year in business. And I am a very firm believer in telling people stories and showing who they are authentically through their lens, like through the lens of what I capture of them. So I'm not a very prosy photographer. I don't like telling people what they should be doing. I would rather like intuitively guide people through their sessions. So when I work with my clients, we basically would do a Zoom, first of all, to find out even if they're a good fit to work together. And then once we've decided let's go ahead, we then do like a strategy session where I get to learn a lot more about who they are, what their why is, and really get to know their brand quite well. Because I think if you don't understand me as a photographer, but also them as a client, if they don't understand their brand, their messaging, who they're targeting, why they're even doing what they're doing, and then how they want to translate that into their photos, then the shoot's not going to work. Because the last thing I'd want to do is get into wherever we're shooting, whether it's a studio or in their space, and they look at me and they're like, what are we doing? And I'm like, well, we're here to take your photos. What's the story that we're telling? So I think it's really important that clients understand before we get to shoot date that, yes, I'm going to plan part of the shoot for them, obviously, but there's also work that they need to do as well to really understand their brand and understand what that story is that they want to be telling, and what's the content they're speaking to. What are you going to be pushing for the next 6 to 12 months in terms of strategy? How are we going to put that into your shoot and make sure that we capture all that content that you're going to need, so you've got the assets sitting there ready for when you're ready to go. Mm-hmm. And now I'm obviously doing video too. So video has become a massive part of what I'm offering my clients too. So I've now got a new package, which I've just launched in the last month, which I'm calling it the ultimate content package. And it's basically, we do a full brand shoot, but then we also shoot video to create a brand movie. And so that brand movie is basically, again, it's like an extension of their brand shoot. It's really showcasing the person for who they are, their personality, so that, their audience get to know what it's like to work with them. They can get a feel of their energy before they even meet them. And it just gets to show that person's personality and their brand personality in a really natural way that their audiences can connect with.
Yeah, I really like that. I like that you bringing in the strategy component in, and the the purpose of it, rather than just taking like photographs, which is great, but there's the why around it, I suppose. Because I've heard people say, I've had photography done, but that doesn't really align with my brand, I'm just thinking about conversations that people have said. And obviously then there's the opposite side, which is what you do, which is probably the best way to plan, because you can do anything, but
absolutely.
without strategy, I suppose that's the key.
It is the key.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I mean, you know, different photographers will be at different levels too, right? But like, it's an investment to do a brand shoot.
Yes.
And not just in like monetary investment, but it's time investment too. So you want to make sure that you're putting absolutely everything you can into that session to really get the most out of it. And I think it's, I don't want to waste my clients' time either. Like, I want them to come feeling like they're prepared. They know exactly what they want out of it. And they feel confident walking into that space that I know exactly what we're going to create. I know what I need to bring to the table as well, so to speak, for them, so that they walk away feeling like it was aligned and they got everything that they really needed out of it.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like I think it speaks volumes though, around having obviously your brand strategy, those values, that mission, and be able to carry that through. Because I know I've seen some photos from even some of like past clients. You look at it, I want to say it looks a little dead behind the eye, but there's just not that personality, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to you, right? Because we absolutely love how you portray people through a lens. But yeah, I think that little tidbit there about having that clear brand strategy is going to help so much.
Oh, it does. And I think it also gives the client confidence in what they're doing. Because, like, you know, the one thing that I will hear with basically every single inquiry I get is, I hate having my photo taken. I'm like, well, first of all, if that's the case, why are you inquiring? But, you know, I think we all hate having a photo taken, or like I hate the sound of my own voice, right? So the idea of, forget not just starting a podcast, but even like getting on stories used to be a massive thing for me on Instagram. I hated it. I hated watching them back and hearing myself. I'm like, oh, you sound like a child. But you just have to get over it, because at the end of the day, like, if you're a business owner, you have a brand, whether it's a business brand or a personal brand. And I think it's really, you have to just get out of your own head and be like, do you know what? I may not like being in front of a camera. I may not like having my photo taken, but if I want to be taken seriously, be seen as an authority, have my clients see like the integrity and the trust that I want to build with them, you need to have visuals, you need to have videos, you need to have photos, because without it, people cannot get to know who you are. They can't get to know your services, your products, what you offer. So then how on earth are they going to choose to buy from you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a really, really, it's an important thing for all business owners to understand. And if you're going to build a really strong brand, it's something you kind of have to accept and get over. As harsh as that sounds.
It's the hard truth. I love it.
It is. It's a hard truth. Like, yes, you know, you've got to get yourself out there, because if you don't, someone else will, and they're the ones that people will go to, not you.
Yeah. And just a follow-up question to that then is, how often should someone get personal branding photography done, or business, you know, photography done? Because, like, this is
a great question.
Go on.
There's so many parts to this answer. Okay. At a minimum, you want to be doing, I would be recommending you do at least once a year. Having said that, it also depends on, it depends on so many factors. Did you do a mini shoot? Did you do a full shoot? Because if you did a mini shoot, you want to be doing those every 3 months, because that content's not going to last you very long, right? Even a brand shoot, like probably once every 6 months. Because the thing is, like, you'll get lots of photos out of it, because it's like most brand shoots will be between 2 to 3 hours, right? So you'll get a fair amount of content, but there's only so many times you can use that content before it starts to feel repetitive, not just for yourself, but for your audience as well. So you need to, if you're consistently posting and updating website, wherever you use your photos, they need to be kept up to date, because your brand will evolve, you'll evolve, your services will evolve, your offers are going to evolve. And so for every time that you launch something new, or, you know, it depends on what you do. Like if you're someone who, as an example, like I love working with course creators, right? But most course creators they have a new offer at least, I don't know, every 6 months, if not more. You need new visuals and a new story to go with each launch. So you need to make sure you're updating your stuff fairly regularly, which I know can be an investment, but I think it's just part and parcel of having a business and a brand. So yeah, it's a really tricky question to answer, but at a minimum, I'd say at least once every 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good answer. I think you're right, because your brand evolves and then what you offer evolves. And like you said, the value is more the brand, trust, the awareness, that personality. So, yeah. So on the other side of things, can you dig a little bit deeper into or delve into product photography? Can you explain what product photography is?
Sure. Oh, so product photography is obviously geared at people who create things. So whether you make things by hand, you print T-shirts, you sell, I don't know, it could be anything. Product photography is basically the visuals and the imagery that we create for your products. So on a very basic surface level, it could be like flat lay photography is really popular for products, lifestyle product photography where you whatever the hero product is that we're shooting, you'd basically create a lifestyle setup around it so that the audience can kind of get a feel for how they may use that product. So as an example, I have a really great client who I shoot for pretty regularly. They create silicone bento kids lunchboxes. So every time I do a shoot for them, the kids love it because mum goes shopping and there's snacks for days afterwards. So I'm basically doing setups where I'm filling those lunchboxes with food so that they look as appealing, and mums will look at them and be like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly what my toddler needs for daycare, childcare, school lunches, whatever it might be. So it's creating, so any photo that you create, you basically you're almost creating a lifestyle out of that image so that when someone sees it, they relate to it in a way that's personal to them in whatever way that they can relate to it. So I need to be making sure when I do my product shoots that the props I'm using, as an example, are aligned with the product, are aligned with the target audience of that brand, the colors are matching, so many different elements. So yeah, that's basically what product photography is. And there's many different ways you can do. Like it could be against a plain white backdrop for a website. It could be on a colored drop, match brand colors, could be stylized with props, as I said. And it can even incorporate video. Like I do a lot of, I've just forgotten the word for it. Oh my God, how embarrassing. My son is even studying it at school.
Like
stop motion video.
Oh, stop motion.
Oh,
yeah.
Stop motion video, sorry.
I love stop motion. I think it's amazing. Such a cool. So much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do any stop motion yourself, or?
I do. I don't do it all the time, but for some clients that they'll be like, can you do that cool video where like things move with the product? I'm like, yes, I can. And it's cool because it brings the product to life.
Mm-hmm.
In a really
something that would essentially be. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go.
Oh, well, I was going to say something essentially that would, like even just like a phone, like you used to visually see the phone's just on, to have it like move across the table. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah,
it is. It's really fun.
All right. So our next question sort of centers around the brand guide a little bit. Yes. And a brand guide usually consists of like photo codes or photo directions of how imagery should be used. And obviously, the strategic guidelines for your brand photography. So what's your experience here? Is this something that you deal with, or is this something that you deal with a brand strategist with? What should people know when it comes to these sorts of things? Oh, she's like loaded.
Such a good question. It's interesting. It's something that at the moment I don't provide in my service as yet. What I do is I'll provide pre-shoot. I call it my brand welcome kit. Mm-hmm. which is a little bit different. It's kind of like what a graphic designer would give you pre-design. So it's basically the same idea, but for their photos. So it's how I get to know their brand, and it prompts the client to sort of, again, rethink of their strategy, their why, their values, who's their client avatar. If they've got brand colors from their graphic designer already, like, it allows me to see the brand from that perspective. So I do that now already with all my brand shoots. But what I want to be introducing next is that second element. So once we've done the shoot, it's then that strategy of how they use their photos. And it's such an important one, because oftentimes people will do a shoot and you deliver their photos and they love them, and then you never see them post them. And it's that missing part, because they just don't know what to do with them. And I totally understand it. It's such an overwhelming thing. Like, you get that email with the link and you're like, oh my God, my photos have arrived. And then you go through them and you're like, oh my God, there's so many, I don't know where to start. And so it just becomes a bit too much.
Yep.
And so I think having that next part where it almost, I mean, not all photographers will do it. And this comes through, for me anyway, doing more brand mentoring with clients. It's then that next step of, okay, well, you've got your images now. Let's look at let's look at the content and how you're going to use it. So let's look at things like, what are your content pillars, if you even have any? If not, okay, let's sit down and work out what they are based on, again, your why. What's your brand message? What marketing have you got coming up? What do we need to focus on? Who's your target audience? And what do they want to see from you? What's the problem that you solve for them? And then how can we talk to that by using your photos? And I think it's a tricky one, because it's a blurred line between, would the brand photographer provide that information, or would the client engage a brand strategist to help them with that? Do they use a social media marketer and they're going to help them with that? It's not a very clear sort of path of who would give them that information. And I think that's where a lot of clients fall over, because they don't know where to go to get that help or that encouragement.
Yeah.
Or support, sorry, not encouragement, that's support.
I find that because dealing with brand guidelines, I find that when it gets to that photography side, it's sort of, there's not really, there's not much strategy around. And as a designer, I can't help.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking for a while, how can that be better, made more effective for business owners by including something that they can actually use, because it's such an important part in their branding.
It really is. It really is. And it's interesting, because most photographers won't want to touch it. They'll be like, I've done my job. I took the photos. I've delivered them. It's on you now what you do with them. Whereas my view of it is like, if I had 3 more of me, I would do it, right? It would literally be, okay, post-shoot, let's have another Zoom and let's create strategy. And then give them that strategy so they can take it away, and almost have like a bit of a 3-month content plan, and they know exactly what they want to be posting. They can get it scheduled in and don't have to think about it.
That would be so powerful. Because it must break your heart a little bit when you've put all this time and effort in, and then you don't see anything. Do you have, I don't know if you've got any examples of where, like, certain photography that you take for clients should be used in a certain way? Do you have an example for that, or it's quite broad, that question?
As in, like, brand photography?
Yeah, so say you mentioned course creators. So you've done your course creation. They've come in for their 6 months. They're ready to launch. They've got all this beautiful imagery, and now they're like, there's too many options. How would you potentially support or guide, or what's some advice that you could possibly give someone in that space?
Oh, that's such a great question as well. Let me have a think.
Putting you on the spot.
I know, but it's a good question, because this is where most clients will not fall over as such. It's not the right word, but they do sort of feel like, what do I do now? Where do I even begin? So I suppose what I would really say to people is, okay, well, if you know, as an example, right, so say you're a course creator, you've got your course ready to launch and you've got a launch plan. Because you have to if you're going to create a course and you know that you want to get it out there, you need a plan of how that launch is going to go. Like you need a funnel, you need your top line, and you're feeding people down it. And you've got your offers in between that sort of lead them through that funnel to the ultimate course that they want to purchase, right? You obviously need visuals and video to support that launch. And I think when I look at, and I know this is a very like extreme example, but if you look at the Queen Jenna Kutcher, like I just love everything that woman stands for. I think she's the bee's knees of marketing in every sense of the word. Her launches are insane. She's so good at what she does. She knows exactly who her audience is. She knows how to speak to them, and she knows how to use her content in such a precise way that anything that woman launches is gold. People will just jump on it and they buy from her. And it's because she's been able to, hang on. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Sorry, my earphone just died. I got that little thing in my ear going, do, 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 do. Yeah, she knows how to launch, and she knows how to use her content in such a way to really speak to her audience, to answer their problems, to show them she's got the solution to whatever it is that they are struggling with. And she uses visuals and video. She doesn't even actually use video all that much when I think about it. She uses her visuals in such a strong way that they just resonate with people so well. And she'll incorporate personal photos. I know she doesn't like showing her kids anymore, but she still shows that she's a mum without necessarily showing her children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so relatable to her audience and to anyone who comes across her. She's warm, she's bubbly. You know that she knows what she's talking about. And again, she has brand photos. Like she updates her brand photos so often.
Yeah.
And I think it's also because she is a photographer, so she gets it. She understands the power of her brand. And she uses it to her advantage. So I think, she's an amazing example of how to strategically, and I know it's hard, right? She's got a massive team behind her. She'll have marketing specialists telling her what to do. You know, she's got people who are writing her content. She's not even doing her content. She's got a team that does it for her. So it's a very different example. But I think if we look at it as a bit of a case study, right, on how to use your photos in a really, really, really strong way, she's a great person to study and to like study her content, really read what she's writing, how she's targeting her audience, the message she's trying to get across. She does it very well, and we could all take a book out of the Jenna Kutcher handbook because she's just, an incredible example of how to build a really strong personal brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am a Jenna Kutcher fangirl, so I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, one of the things that resonates so much is like she came from humble beginnings. I know she brought that camera for $300 off Craigslist. Yeah, and it's just that it's so, and I just know that about Jenna, but it is something. It's just part of her brand and who she is. And yeah, you're right. Her imagery is amazing. And now that I think about it, she does update that imagery quite often.
Quite often, yeah. Like I would, I mean, I don't know. I wish I knew her. But I would guess like she's doing a brand shoot or she's doing a photo shoot of some description at least once every 3 months, if not more.
Yeah.
She then will use those visuals within that period, because by the next shoot that she's done, she's got a new marketing campaign that they're being used for, or she's got a new content strategy that those images are being used for. It's not often that you'll see photos of hers from like 2 years ago that she's reusing again.
Yeah, okay. So I feel like hot tip there is like based on those offers, making sure that, you are aligning
absolutely that
imagery to the new offers.
Yeah. Ooh, and even to her content, because I find, I mean, a lot of clients who will come to me, like I had a call last week, like a clarity call, and she's like, oh, I haven't had a brand shoot in 6 years. I nearly fell off my chair. I'm like, what do you mean? What content are you posting?
It's like you've never had a woman check.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, she's just been reusing the same photos, and she'll just use Canva like graphics and stuff that she creates in, or stock imagery in between. I'm like, no, please don't, no. But look, to be fair, it's obviously worked for her and she's built her brand up. So well done that she's been able to do it. But that's not, like, please don't do that. Don't do a brand shoot once every 6 years.
I suppose it like what you're saying is having it 6 to 12 months, you're relevant, you're being, constant, that consistency, the now. Absolutely. You're being, rather than being outdated, and you're actually engaging with your audience because you're like, this is what's happening now.
Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful. And then if we relate it to like Instagram or digital content, that has a high churn rate of imagery for social media. Do you obviously have like the social media Maven package, right?
Yeah.
Can you share a bit about that, and also give us any tips on with that whole churning of imagery? And I know you mentioned some video and obviously getting photo shoot done, but is there anything else you can add?
Yeah, well, so to answer the first part of your question, so the social media Maven package is really designed for people who do understand how quickly they use content. And I suppose it's a tricky one because it does also depend on your business and your strategy. So I created that package more for business owners who are on socials constantly and do have that need for constant content. So instead of them doing, a full brand shoot, which, it's a massive 2-hour shoot, it's a big investment, all the rest of it, we do a 1-hour shoot once a month for a minimum of 6 months. And you get 30 photos out of that shoot. So you've basically got 30 images to get you through that month. So there's no excuses not to be posting at least once a month. And or, updating your website. You've got a launch, you've got launch photos to use, you've got something there that is relevant and new that you can be using as quickly as you need to, basically. And it actually was born from, I used to work with a lot of influencers back in the day. And they need content constantly, right? So I created the package initially for them, but then this is going to sound terrible, but it's reality. Let's be honest. They don't want to pay to have their photos taken. Or they want to shoot for like $100, which I'm not going to do. So that's fine. That's on, like, it's a whole different world. The influencer world is so different. And like, hats off to them. A lot of them have now taught themselves how to take their own photos. They use their phone, Insta husband, whatever. It works for them. That's fine.
Insta husband. I love it.
It's true though.
Yeah, I've seen the photos of like they're on holiday and there's the Insta husband taking the photos of the influencer in the water. Right. And
yes, exactly. Like, this is my life. Yes, we all wish it was our lives too. So I basically took like that analogy of they're needing constant photos all the time, but let's do it for a business owner that actually needs photos all the time, and we'll use them, hopefully. So that's what that package was built for. So it's that quick 1 hour every month. You've got updated photos. There's your content. Off you go. What was the second part of that question?
The second part is with obviously Instagram having that high churn rate. You've mentioned obviously getting regular photographs taken to, be like up to date. But is there other tips that you can give small to medium-sized business owners on how they can really use their social media and like with the visuals?
Visuals as in like their photos or like just any visual content?
Yeah, visual content and just, because obviously, you talked about how that one person came and using the same photo. Is there any other tips you have for social media content?
Yes. Well, I suppose my number one tip with,
so where do I start?
Social media is its own bloody.
We need a whole nother episode on that, do we? Yeah.
Look, social media is a tricky one. It's like that beast that we know we need, but we don't want to have to do. And I think as every business owner, we can all relate to that because it really is its own monster. And depending on how often you want to show up online, it almost becomes its own business. It's like you have your business and you do whatever it is that you do as a service provider or a product like a seller or a maker. And then there's social media on top of that. So it's like 2 full-time jobs that you have to manage on top. And it's a lot. Like I struggle with it. I'll be the first to admit I am not consistent with my socials. I'll have like weeks where I'm on all the time and posting really consistently and all the rest. And then I get really like tired of it and I just pull back because it's just too much. So my number one tip would definitely be don't put pressure on yourself that you have to be on there every day. If you can, try and bulk create content. So I'm talking photos are one thing, they get delivered and you can schedule that you can schedule that stuff in later or like plan or whatever it is, Meta Business Suite, whatever you use to like schedule, get on it, get yourself scheduled and you can forget about that stuff. But then the reality is we also do need to incorporate video. So what I would definitely recommend is either hire a videographer or someone who can do reels for you, right? If you can't make that investment, which is totally understandable, you need to get used to filming yourself at home or in your workspace, like if you've got a co-working space or wherever it is that you work from. Again, stop the imposter syndrome, get over your ego, and learn to film yourself on your phone. Your phone is the number one thing that you're going to invest in yourself in your business. Like get a good phone with a good camera, get yourself a tripod or like a ring light or whatever it might be, and just practice filming.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like an idiot talking at yourself in the camera, but it's fine because, again, it'll help you get over the ego that tells you you're being a dickhead, who thinks you're good enough to do this. No one wants to listen to you. Like it's that voice, right?
We all hear it.
We all hear it. I say it to myself all the time. At the end of the day, again, you are your brand, whether you want to like to admit to it or not. Like we are our own brands. So, and your brand needs to connect to your audience and video is the best way to do it. It really, really is. So again, it comes down to having strategy, thinking about what it is you want to actually talk to your audience about, what information you want to be giving them, what you're sharing with them, create a plan and bulk record that content so that you've got a bank of videos sitting there ready to be scheduled. You can schedule straight into Instagram now. They make it so easy. So for all of us, you know, like there's no excuses not to be doing it. I know it's hard. I struggle with it a lot. So it's just getting yourself into that headspace of I know I need to do it. I have my plan. Let's just do it.
I love that. I think I know I suffer from it 100%. I'm probably on here. I'm probably the worst one showing up on social media. I'm so bad. But I know that about myself. I know my problems.
But and I think if the first thing is to admit to it, right?
Yeah,
if you're aware of it,
name the problem, me.
Exactly. No, eventually change it.
So question around if you were a small business owner, we're just starting out, maybe we don't have the budget to take beautiful photos by Nicole, or, you know, we mentioned about, you know, doing those reels, getting the ring light. What about, and I know it's not the ultimate, DIYing some brand photos, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips around that can just help? Because I've as a web designer, I've received some interesting photos in my time. And, you know, pointing them, do you have any advice of someone who's taking some home photos? Like, we don't want you and the family in your photos on your website, maybe on your about page, maybe, but you know.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So, all right, if you have to DIY your photos at the beginning, please use natural light as much as humanly possible. Yeah. I know it's not always easy depending on the space that you're shooting in, but every house has a window. So get yourself in front of your window and use that light exactly, right? Use that light as much as possible to your advantage, because the more light that is on your face, so you're basically looking into the light, the crisper your features are going to be, so the photo is going to look a lot clearer. The one thing that grinds my gears more than anything else is when people, and like, it's easy for me to say I'm a photographer, so I understand how to use light. But when people create a video as an example at home and the window's behind them,
And
so your face is dark, right? So you've got light coming in from behind you, but I can't see you because your face is in shadow. If you're going to DIY photos or videos at home, use light as much as humanly possible. If you don't have good natural light, then please buy light. Not expensive. They're like $50 at Kmart, right? If you're a glasses wearer, just be cautious because you're going to see the ring in your glass, especially if you've got, like you and I both have that reflective, the anti-glare.
Yes.
You'll see the ring around, but whatever. Sometimes it can't be helped. Like even now, if I see there, you can see like.
Yeah, I've got it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to DIY your photos, natural light or a ring light, please have light on your face. Wear light colors as well. Light colors will tend to brighten your complexion so that your photos nice and crisp and clear. Use either a blank wall as your backdrop. You can like get creative. Use like, if you've got beautiful bed linen, this is going to sound so random. If you've got beautiful bed linen and it matches your brand colors, hang it up on your wall. Or like get yourself, they're so cheap. Go buy like a cheap backdrop stand, clip it with some baby pram clips or whatever it might be. Use that as a backdrop. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Use it as a backdrop.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like this.
I love that.
Use your imagination and think about some ways that you could create some really cool photos at home, even in your backyard. If you've got a beautiful sunny day, right? Put that linen sheet on your clothesline, set yourself up with your phone on your tripod and play with your natural light and see where like the shadows fall across your face. If you want a bit moody, like there's so many things that you could do. I think just get creative and get those creative juices to flow. And then once you've started there, right, say you're ready for a shoot, but you're not ready for a full investment, have a look at mini brand shoot days. Every photographer will host them. Like I do headshot days probably once every 6 months. Some photographers will hold them more often. And, you know, it'll be in a studio. You'll have a pro photographer taking your photos and at a minimum, you'll get 5 photos from that shoot and it's not a massive investment. If you're building a site like a website and Jess is doing your website, please, for the love of God, go book yourself into a mini headshot shoot day.
Please do.
So that you've got, because the thing I suppose is as well, like, yes, we all have to start somewhere, but if you invest in yourself and in your brand, it shows your audience you believe in yourself enough to make that investment in your brand. Mm-hmm. It shows that you have integrity, that you're taking yourself seriously. I think if you're launching a website and you've got photos you took on your iPhone on that website, I hate to say it, but it doesn't look good.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't translate.
It doesn't.
Professionally. Like you don't come across as a professional when those images are a bit pixelated or as I mentioned, I've seen some interesting imagery. So book Nicole.
Yeah. How do you go with like just something came to my mind, but like with photographs with different tones or like, you know, keeping that consistent? Because, I've seen that and then a few people throw in the stock image and then you're like, burning my eyes, you know, cringe.
Oh, my God, yes, I know.
Comments around that?
Geez. Again, it's a hard one because you don't want to offend people, but I suppose if you've worked with a graphic designer and they've given you your brand colors, try to use them as your like base of what your imagery should look like. So you want everything to be consistent and to flow. So say as an example, your brand colors are warm tones. They're like a warm peach with maybe like a beautiful, I don't know, sage green or something thrown in, right? And you're using them as an example in Instagram, right? If you're using those through your feed or on your website and things look fairly cohesive, and then all of a sudden you're throwing in like a bright blue or a yellow or brown or something that just does not work, like, please don't do it. I know sometimes it can be hard as well. Like if you're using, like say you took a photo on the weekend and it was somewhere that was so beautiful and like the photo has meaning and you've got a really beautiful story that you want to write about that matches that photo, but that photo doesn't necessarily match your aesthetic feed. You've got two options. You can either try to edit it with like either a preset or like use your adjustments in your editing tools on your phone to try to make the photo look a little bit more cohesive to your feed. Or if you don't want to do that, or you don't feel confident, which is totally fine, create in Canva a tile that becomes photo number one. Then use that photo and create a carousel. Right. So you can have just two photos. So you can have your Canva one that matches your brand photo, your brand colors, sorry. And that's what goes on as like image number one. So your feed looks consistent. And then use that second image that won't match, but you still need to speak to as photo number two. So at least that way, when people land on your Instagram grid, everything's going to look cohesive. Right. But you're still able to use that photo in a way that is meaningful and you can still tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you've always got to keep in mind. Like the days of like having those beautiful aesthetic Instagram feeds are gone, thank God. However, it's way too much work, but things still need to look cohesive because it needs to match back to your brand. And it's the same with your website. Like your website needs to be cohesive. So if you're going to have brand photos, make sure that wherever the location you're picking for those photos matches the feel and the vibe of your brand so that when they get put onto your website by your web developer, she's not frantically screaming at her computer screen because things don't match and it doesn't work.
Yep. 100%.
Well, you've touched on video, so we're going to just explore that side of things now.
Mm-hmm.
So firstly, what made you decide to branch out to video? Is it because of how the current like movement towards video is happening? Or what made you decide to go?
A mix of yes and no. Like I didn't choose to do video because everybody wants video. It was more I had a lot of clients that were asking for it because there are not many people out there, and that particularly women, there are not many female videographers. Most of the people who create video are of the male species, which is totally fine, but not all. Like I will only work with women predominantly. I have one male client because he's a husband of one of my clients. That's fine. But most, like 99% of my clients are women, right? And so oftentimes those women know that they need video in whatever format it might be. They feel more comfortable working with a woman. And so I just had quite a few clients that would say to me, oh, do you know anyone who does video? We need video content done. And I'm like, I can do it. So I literally, I'm self-taught. I haven't studied video. I have no idea. Had no idea. I do now. But at the start, I had no idea what I was doing. But again, like how wrong can you go?
Hey, you got to give it a go. I'm a big believer that you can do whatever the hell you want. In my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
as long as you're willing. Like if you're willing to learn, it was a massive learning curve. I'm not going to lie. Editing video. Wow. It's its own world. It's insane. But I actually really enjoy it. I love telling. It's just a new way for me to tell people stories, basically.
And there must be some similarities with photography and videography, some like that kind of, you talk about lighting and stuff like that. There must be a little bit of a crossover.
There is a crossover, definitely. Like when you look at the kind of the technical side of what makes a beautiful image, right? It's the same thing that would make a beautiful video. There's just more elements to video because then you've got to think about like audio. Lighting is trickier as well because trying to get consistent light in a video can be a lot different to how you would create that in a photo. So there are some similarities, but there are differences as well. But it's just a challenge. Like every job, you learn something. I learn from every single job I do, whether it's a photo, like a brand shoot, product shoot, whether it's video, whatever it might be, an event. I learn something from every single job I do because if I wasn't learning constantly, then I'm not going to get better. So then I can't serve my clients better and I can't evolve and offer these new things for them that I know that they need. And if I can be, if they can come to me and get all elements of what they need, like visually for their brand from a photography video point of view, then why wouldn't I do it? Yes, it's a lot more time and it's a lot more It's a lot more time intensive in terms of editing and all the rest of it. But, they're not having to then source 2 different people to do one job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I see the alignment. I hear the alignment, like definitely. So a little bit into video strategy. So so I can see the passion. I can see the passion you have for like the platforms, the social media. Can you provide any like recommendations for a small to medium business owner on like what a video strategy could be or would look like the elements that would be involved? For example, the formats or what platforms, because we have seen a movement to, obviously we see the movement to video, but, do we need to be across all of our platforms posting video every single day? Or, or is it something you sprinkle on your ice cream and, you put in there so that people have that almost that multimedia effect?
Yeah. That is a tricky question to answer. Only because it really depends on. It really is going to come down to how much time you want to spend doing things.
Okay.
So if there's so many parts to it. It also depends on your marketing strategy. So if you're using socials as your only means of marketing,
lead gen,
for your lead gen, then which is not a good idea.
Just saying.
Really not. Because look, at the end of the day, we don't own our social platforms.
No.
Right? So use them 1,000% because it's free. Why would you not? But underlying all of this, please, everyone who's listening and or watching, please be building an email list. It is the only place that you will own your followers or your audience, whatever it might be, is the emails that you collect and nurture, right, in your EDMs. So that's one part. But if you are using your socials for marketing, it really, it depends. It's such an individual choice. Like I choose personally, Instagram is my predominant platform that I will concentrate on. I can't with TikTok. I'm just too old. I don't have time. No. I know that I'm probably behind the times, but I don't care. Instagram's enough for me. YouTube is an amazing platform, which is only video. So if you're going to be using YouTube, right, it's a very different video format and content plan to what you would be doing on Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
They're so different, right? LinkedIn is so behind, it's an amazing platform, but video is not massive on that stage yet. So it's not as much pressure in a sense for creators, if you like, or, to have video content for that platform. So I think it's really going to come down to where your audience, it's actually not even up to us really at the end of the day. Where we should be concentrating on for our socials is where your audience lives. And so this is where it comes down to really understanding who your target audience is and what they're looking for and where they're going for that information. So if you know that your audience only live on LinkedIn, right, because predominantly they're corporate, as an example, then focus on LinkedIn. Put your strategy into that platform, still utilize others, but that's where you should be concentrating because that's where they are. There's no point being on Instagram if your audience are not there.
Yep.
Same goes for with the podcast, right? YouTube is the best place to be repurposing your podcast content. It's a visual way for people to connect with you. They're still listening to the episode, but they're seeing the faces of the people that are speaking to them, right? It's the same kind of thing. So I think it really comes down to understanding who your target audience is, where they live online, and then creating the content that they want to be consuming. Because if you're not doing that, you're completely missing the boat and you're just wasting your own precious time. And then you're going to feel crap because the content you're putting out there doesn't work.
Yeah. That's very good. I think, basically where your customers are or where your clients are, that's where you should hang out and produce. Yeah. With all the digital side of stuff, so we spoke obviously about website, social media. How about the non-digital, any print or anything worked on? I'm curious. Have you worked on any projects? Obviously, you've done product photography, stuff like that are more non-digital and your photographs have been applied to?
Yeah, definitely. Predominantly for me, it would either be my product photography that then would be used for printed marketing collateral for that brand. Otherwise, I've also done quite a lot of styled shoots in the event space where those photos are then used in magazines, which is super cool.
Oh,
super, super cool. Back when I used to do a lot of fashion content, my dream back then was to be featured in a Vogue. That obviously never happened. I wish it did. But
hey, there's still time. There's still time. Hey, Vogue.
There is still time. But I think, they're kind of probably the two main places for me personally that my work would have been featured, not the online space, would either be in printed magazine, newspapers as well. Actually, I've had my stuff printed in newspapers quite a bit too, which is really cool. Marketing collateral.
Yeah, and it's probably a similar setup strategy on how that content's going to be used.
Very much so. Yeah, if it's being shot with the purpose of it being printed, then yes, absolutely. You need to have a really strong plan of how that image is going to be created and then how it's going to be used within, whether it's in a magazine as an example. Because yes, actually, now that I think about it, I've shot a lipstick brand where everything was going to be used for print in a magazine. So obviously, for that example, I had to make sure every single image was perfectly lit, perfectly edited. We could not have any, because, lipstick containers have reflective surfaces, right? So I had to make sure that nothing was reflected on the surface of the edit. It needed to be clean, crisp, really well lit. The product needed to look absolute perfection, so that when they were printed, because obviously print is in a magazine, they can get printed quite big. So you need to make sure you're shooting at the right specifications so that when they're printed, they don't lose clarity, all those kinds of things. So there are things that need to be considered, definitely.
That's cool. So you're obviously a business owner yourself, so people, you would need the same services we need from you. How do you manage that? This is more of a curious.
At the moment, I do it all myself, which is stupid because I'm also a mum. I have 2 young kids and it's just too much. No, I am in the process of outsourcing a lot of things because I'm now almost 6 years into my business. And for the most part, I have done it all on my own, which when I sit back and think about it, I'm like, holy crap, that's a pretty amazing achievement. But I'm also, you're an idiot because you can't grow. This is what I'm realizing at this point where I'm at right now, because I have massive plans for next year of what I want to achieve, but I cannot achieve them working the way I do now. And so it's the control freak in me that needs to let go of certain things and trust in other people to do those things for me and know they'll still get done to the standards I want so that I can take that next step to grow. So whether it's, for me, I'm outsourcing my editing for both my photos and my video because I just can't keep doing it. I can't keep, I will get up at 5 a.m. and edit before the kids wake up. I'll stay up once they've gone to bed. Pre-COVID, I used to do that a lot. Most nights I'd be up until a minimum of 1 a.m. I can't do it anymore. After all the lockdowns and everything shifted and changed, and my body won't let me stay up that late anymore. I'm also getting older, which doesn't help. But even, I need to find a VA. There are things that I do that I really don't like doing that I could give to a VA to do so I can use that time more efficiently to do business development and to get out there and network more and grow the business and do all the big things that I really want to be doing. So yeah, I think being a business owner is it's so not what people tell you it is when you start. And it's not that glamorized, lunches and meeting people and
getting around the world.
Yeah. God, I wish. Or even, you jump online and every second post that you see is how to make $100,000 a month. I'm sorry, but no, you can't, especially on your own. There's no way. It's such an unrealistic goal to set for yourself. And, you can't work 2 days a week building a business online and make $10,000 a month. Like
it's not possible.
It's not possible.
Yeah. I cringe. I constantly cringe when I see those posts where people are like, yeah, buy my formula to doing this and earn $20,000 and live a life of luxury. And it's like, And I mean, I've learned as a business owner, I think I was saying it this morning, many hats, so many hats that I need to wear as a business owner. And we mentioned like social media, it's its own little beast, big beast. And this is why you do bring experts into your space so that you can offload some of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We can't be good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to school or you go to uni, you learn a career, and in a normal career, that's all you would do,
yes.
Right? Whereas when you're a business owner, like your HR, your accounts and finance, your, like data entry, you're a copywriter, you're a content creator.
Developer, a tech person.
Correct. Like you've got to learn how to like build a website and all the back end stuff. You go. Like there's so many things. And it's possible for your brain to know all those things and to do them well.
Yes.
As well.
And I remember hearing, and I truly believe, like, a friend of mine recently just got a promotion in her corporate job, and a little bit out of her wheelhouse, but, she's obviously in that role for a reason, but you surround yourself with smart people that can help you do the job or complete the project or get to that end goal, because that's what a good leader does. Yes. Yeah. So be a leader, people. Bring people into the fold. Yeah. And Nicole sounds like you're going to be a leader very soon. You've got some exciting things. Well, you are a leader in your niche, but
speaking of next year, what is it that you have in store personally for your business? Can you share a few little nuggets, or not your like secret squirrel?
I'm hoping to have a team of people, a team of photographers working with me by next year, end of next year. That's the big dream.
Yay.
So that'll be my focus for next year, is finding the right fit, first of all, and scares me because staff.
That's a whole new kettle of fish.
Whole new kettle of fish. But yeah, I'd like to have, that's the dream for next year, is to start building a team.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Taking the business to the next level.
And if someone is listening to this or watching this and they're in Melbourne and they're like, I want to work with you, how would they go about that?
So the best thing to do is either jump on my website, which is NicolePas.com, or follow me on Instagram, and send me a DM. Otherwise, there is a contact me page on my website as well. Send through an inquiry and, book your Zoom clarity call in and we take it from there.
Yay.
I love it.
Well, there you go.
Thank you so much. It's been such a good session, good interview, good chat.